Hi, I'm Lukáš. I basically have two hobbies that I try to focus on my free time. One of them is composing orchestral music, and the other one is social engineering and hacking. So yeah, they're pretty close. And I will talk about the second one in this talk. So imagine it's a lovely Saturday, like it is right now, and your whole customer database, all your customer data are just gone. They are just leaked. It would probably be a PR or, in this time, a huge GDPR nightmare. And imagine it would be as simple as someone just sending an email, just one email, and all your data is gone. In the last couple of years, what I try to do with my company is to test the real security in the real world environment to see how we do. And these are just a couple examples I will talk about a bit more later. Just a disclaimer, this is not a manual for hacking anyone. I try to consider myself to be on the good ethical side of things, so this is not a guide to hack anyone. We can go to the stories I want to share with you. So the first one, and that was basically a starting point in my company. I wanted to see how easy it is to gain access to someone's Facebook account, if it is easy at all. So I just registered a fake email on Seznam, the biggest Czech email provider, pretending to be one of my colleagues. And I sent an email to my colleagues saying, hey, have you seen this funny video of DJs playing something or whatever? The link got them to Facebook. They entered their password, and that was it. But if you look carefully, the domain is not facebook.com, it's facebook-k.cz. I own it. I bought it for like $10. And with this stupid example of phishing, I was able to get approximately 70% passwords to my colleagues' Facebook accounts. We were 17 people at the time. So that kind of scared me, and I focused more on education and security and to show people what could go wrong and how it looks like. So I launched another attacks, and this is one of my recent ones. It's about Lastpass. If you know, do you know Lastpass? It's a password manager. For those who don't know it, it's something like 1Password or anything like that. And it basically stores all your passwords if you use it. Imagine that your CEO or your boss shares something with you on Lastpass. In Gmail, you can even see his nice picture in there. Nothing out of ordinary, he just shares something. You click accept share data. You are taken to a Lastpass login page. Even your email is pre-filled. So yeah, just password, enter it, and you are safely accepting this something I'm sharing with you. Of course, you have just been pawned because someone played with you and someone got your access to your account. Because again, this domain is login-lastpass.com. I bought for another $10. I even used Let's Encrypt to show the secure sign in there. At the time, the Google Chrome had it green, so it even enforced the user to feel more secure. The connection was really secure. But it just wasn't with Lastpass servers, right? Now let's write some Python, or to talk a bit more about the technical execution. So I researched a bit, and I found a nice library on GitHub that's called Simple Email Spoofer. It was written in Python 2.7, so I played with it to upgrade it to Python 3. I extended it for a couple of features I needed that weren't just supported. And I had a nice Python command that accepted email template that was actually written in Jinja to have it all personalized, to whom I'm sending the email from, name, subject, and other IDs to personalize the email. And that was pretty much it. Nothing really complicated. And these are the results. So I got access to Lastpass accounts of 10 of my colleagues. That means 10 master passwords. And in the end, it means 210 passwords to all online services. Even 7 internet banking credentials, 10 credit cards. So yeah, that scared me. A good thing about this is that one of my colleagues, after Detect, he approached me and he told me something like, hey, wow, I thought that I'm aware of all that stuff because I watched all the videos that my bank is showing me, and I should be aware and I shouldn't be vulnerable to these kind of attacks. And obviously I'm not. The funny thing is that this guy is not from our customer support, where you would usually expect social engineering happening in practice. He's or he was, but not because I hacked him. He was our data scientist, so a person who is writing Python all day long, a person who is really focused on technology, he's tech savvy. And he just thought that he's aware. Until I put him to the test, it surprised him. By stealing a lot of passwords, I was kind of curious on how people, we saw in a couple of presentations that the most common password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So we typically introduce some password requirements to users. So it has to be 8 characters long. It has to contain 1 uppercase letter, 1 number or special symbol or something like that. This results in this kind of combinations. It's 3026 times 10 to the 15th, so a lot of number, big number. I written it down. It's 3 quintillion, 26 quadrillion. So yeah, big number. But imagine your user has a favorite word, for example, weapon. Where do you think the 1 uppercase letter, the requirement to the password to be secure, will be? In 90% cases, in the beginning. If you force your user to have 1 number or a special symbol, in 90% cases, again, it will be in the end. So if you look at the most common patterns using uppercase letters, lowercase letters, those things coming from security requirements, we are down to something like 80 billion combinations. So that's not impossible to crack or get it by brute forcing it. It's not impossible. It's much more feasible than that 3026 times 10 to the 15th. And no one really explained users that these passwords are bad. So that's why they thought they are unique. And they thought that they are the only one in the world using these kind of patterns. Yeah, they are not. Next story, it's about fashion eShop. They are doing approximately 300 million Czech crowns in revenue, so it's not a small eShop. A friend of mine owns it, and I called him just out of, I was curious, and I asked him if I can please play with your eShop a little bit. And he said, yeah, sure, but we take security pretty seriously. And 1 day later, I had admin access to everything. So the whole customer database, whole order database, their margins that they considered the biggest know-how. And it wasn't really hard. So here's your step-by-step guide to eShop hacking. The first step was to find admin panel URL to log in. At first, I wanted to do that by finding the most common admin panels, the most common uses systems and stuff like that. So I written a simple Python script. I use library requests, which is totally awesome Python library for doing requests. And I just iterated through the list to find it. But I didn't have to do that, because in their robots.txt, so that was it. The second step, register for eShop platform demo. to see if there are some vulnerabilities or if it's some old system and stuff like that. So I registered, and it had cross-site request forgery vulnerability. For those who are not sure how this works, this is just an example. Imagine that on your website there is just image tag, and some URL for the image to load. And just by loading the image, you will actually add a user with this email, this password, to be admin user. So the only thing I really needed was to send the owner a phishing email, something I did in the beginning, like, hey, have you seen this funny video? And just by loading that email in Gmail, I had admin user. But again, I didn't have to do that. Because the credentials I received for the platform demo, they worked in their production environment, because they were just embedded in the system, and someone in the beginning, in the setup in, I don't know, 2010, just forget it. Unfortunately, the only feature that was available was updating articles. So the only thing I could have done was to go to their homepage and update the text to say something like, hey, your site has been pawned, I'm the big Mr. Hacker, I can update all your articles. I poked a little bit in that, and I found out that their WYSIWYG editor supports HTML, it supports JavaScript, so you can enjoy yourself with some nice cross-site scripting, and their login cookie was not HTTP only, so it can be pretty easily stolen just with JavaScript. So I wrote 10 stupid lines of JavaScript to collect all the login cookies on that site. And I just, yeah, I could have waited. So I wanted to save myself a little bit of time. And I just called the owner and I told him, hey, do you think you could go to your homepage? Yeah, sure, why? I'm on the homepage. Cool, check your email. And there was this screenshot of their administration with all of those data. So that was the issue. Just a little bit off topic, but something I found out on my way that I didn't know before is that spoofing emails is pretty simple. And what I didn't know is that spoofing phone calls and text messages is exactly as simple as that. So right now, with this service or other services, or if you are a hardcore hacker, you can do it by yourself. I can call your mobile phone as your mother, for example, and your phone will show your mother is calling you from this number. So that's something I found interesting on the way. Let's talk a bit more about anatomy of an attack and the user experience I provided to my users. So typically I start at the end, so with a goal. What is my goal I want to achieve? Then I do a little bit of reconnaissance to see what the environment is, what could be the attack vector and things like that. Then I select the right tools, which is in 90% cases Python. I do the development testing, and then something I've got from marketing and product is execute, learn live, and update. So when I'm launching a new attack, for example, Lastpass, I'm always watching Google Analytics and some different analytical tools for websites to see if my users are converting, if they are giving their passwords for free, and I'm trying to update the site live to perform better. This is a marketing example. So on the bottom chart, you can see the traffic on the website. It remains pretty much the same. And for me, as a marketer, the something I'm obsessed with is the conversion rate. So it means from the traffic you receive, how many users convert, register, or finish a purchase, or something like that. And you can see in this example, it's increasing. And that's something I have in mind also, not just in my product marketing job. I try to have that in mind when I'm launching new attacks. And that's why we as marketers are so obsessed with business intelligence, analytics tools, and stuff like that. About the ultimate user experience. As a hacker or someone doing scams, the easiest thing to exploit is our autopilot. It means doing something we are unconscious about. We don't think about it. It's something like log into your Facebook or log into your Lastpass. And another example, this is I sent to one of my colleagues. It's saying, hey, you are overdue, you owe us money, there are a lot of fees, you can just here log in and log in, again stealing his password. And what this did is that he woke up 6 a.m. in the morning, he just saw the email, scrolling through the emails, he clicked, saw the usual login page, nothing set him off, and he just logged in. The funny thing is that my experiment all the time said the password is wrong. And what he did, he tried to enter password to his Facebook account, to his Gmail account, to his Twitter account, to his Lastpass account. And I got like 6 or 7 different passwords to different services. And that's just exploiting his autopilot. He's not thinking, because during his user experience, there was nothing that set him off that could be wrong. And as you saw in my Lastpass example, I tried to pre-fill the email. So the only thing that my user I try to screw with, he has to do is just enter password. And that's something I don't see often in marketing emails. If you click through marketing emails, there is usually no personalization, no pre-filled email, nothing to make your life easier as a user. But during attacks, it's I believe, crucial. Also, the sense of urgency, or to send it from the people you would expect it. So I always try to pretend I'm some of their colleagues, a colleague I could find on our website. And it kind of dissolves all the mental blocks the user has, so he just go through it. I believe it's important to have it as a combination of 3 different mindsets or skill sets. Because if you do tech and you are the best person in cryptography, and you don't do user experience or marketing, I'm not sure that those attacks will be that successful. The same if you're a marketing and UX person and you know nothing about tech, you will not be able to do anything. So I believe it's a combination of these 3 powerful weapons. Final secrets to share. We live in a better and more secure world. And we did a study on the biggest 120 merchants, e-shops in Czech Republic in 2014, and you can see that over 71% didn't have HTTPS. So just 4 years ago, which is not a long time ago at all, 71% didn't have HTTPS, and another 12.5% had it only in cart. So as acting man in the middle, you could have easily forged the cart link on the previous page. So it means only 16% had HTTPS. Just a year ago, it's over 92% have HTTPS. So the world is more secure, end-to-end encryption on mobile messaging and stuff like that. It's great. But the most vulnerable thing or component in this whole story is the user. So even though the world is getting secure, the user is the most vulnerable one. And I will show you my secret workflow to make this attack work. I usually go to Google. I enter the query like Python make unique lists, something stupid. I just open the first link on Stack Overflow, I copy the one line I like, and that's pretty much it. What I want to say by that is that your attacker, or someone attacking you personally or attacking your company, doesn't have to be sophisticated at all. He can be just some product marketer as I am, and he doesn't have to be some hardcore hacker at all. Why is my Python my language of choice? even though I'm not a professional developer, I can use all these awesome things. I love Python because its syntax is simple. It's easy to understand, it's clean. I love the simple setup and deployment, so being a Mac user, I don't really have to do anything. I just have Python installed on my computer and it just works. The same with Linux servers or anything like that. I love the ecosystem of libraries, and if you're using virtual environment and you're using pip, it's just super easy to type in pip install requirements, and it does everything for you, and in 3 seconds you are able to use amazing library. The same goes for system utilities. So for sending those, or spoofing those emails, I don't have to use or download any library or something like that. It's just embedded in Python. As I mentioned, I love requests, as library doing a request. I love, for example, Beautiful Soup to parse HTML and try to find something on those pages. And I love Celery for doing background tasks, background processes, and stuff like that. I think it's awesome that Python can be used in so many ways. So you can use it for a web app with Django. You can use it for some task automation or something like that. Or you can do data science stuff in there. So you can play with NumPy or something like that. That's something I like. So it can be used in so many use cases. Just to sum up, I believe that the number one thing is common sense. Because if there is something just a little bit odd or weird, it should set you and your users off. So that's something I try to tell my colleagues. Why your CEO is sharing something with you at 6 in the morning on Sunday? Why? It's just weird. Or why is he saying you that, hey, this guy is really pissed off because we didn't pay his invoice on time? Why is he writing specifically to you that email? Why didn't he post it to our Slack public channels? Or why didn't he use our groups in Zendesk or anything like that? So just some simple things that could and should tell you what's wrong. The same goes with, why the hell would Facebook ask you for your password if you are logged in all the time? So that's common sense. Another one is better safe than sorry. And I feel that just being aware, you can do a big difference. So you can educate your colleagues, and by just being aware of all the things that could go wrong, I feel it's good. The bad thing is that only one person slips up in your company and all the data is gone. So from the point of an attacker, it's awesome because you have to be right just once. As a company, as someone trying to protect its secrets and data and customer data, you have to be right all the time. So there is no space for errors. Have fun if you will do these kind of things. I found out it's a lot of fun to try to search for new ways to attack people. So just a side story, I, for example, sent a malicious USB drive to our chief risk officer. So just fun, and it's awesome device. It's called Rubber Ducky, and it works as a keyboard. So even just by plugging it in, it starts to write all the commands and it can do anything. So it's a lot of fun to do these kind of things and to research these things. And the last point is to deliver 100% user experience, and not just in attacks, of course, but using that 100% user experience, all those little nitty details, and use it for good. And remember, it's not just about secure code, it's about people, vulnerable people. And I would love for you to try it yourself, because it's different to talk about it in theory than in practice. So try it yourself, and please help your users to be and feel more secure. Thank you.
So we do have some questions. What changes have you made at Twisto after you've learned these lessons?
There are some changes that happened naturally. One of them is that I think none of my colleagues trust their email anymore. So if they receive anything, even from me, they just don't trust it. So that's the number one thing that changed naturally. But what we did differently is that I try to do these things at least once per 1 month or once per 2 months. So to kind of periodically go through it and show people that those things can be exploited, those things can be vulnerable. And we try to, of course, we are not 100% secure, but we try to get there. So that's what we changed.
Thank you. How much do your colleagues like you after you pwned them so many times?
Yeah, about that. I hope they still do, but it's my hope. I don't know. There are a couple of them sitting here. Do you like me after that? Yeah. So that's the answer. So.
Nice. How do I protect myself from attacks that execute as soon as I open an email on Gmail?
I'm not sure I have an answer for that. Yeah, for that CSRF, it's a fault of that system. And yeah, you can obviously protect yourself by turning off JavaScript, loading images, and stuff like that, but you wouldn't have anything like that at all. Yeah, for that email example, I would probably say that using some email clients, you can be more secure than using just web Gmail, because the web Gmail is in your Chrome browser. So that might be answer for that, but I personally use Google Inbox, so I'm not that secure.
Right. You mentioned dropping USB sticks on the street in your abstract. Was that another attack vector you tried?
Yeah, I like that one. There are actually two USB malicious things I did. I think 3 years ago or something like that, Mac had a 0-day attack or a 0-day vulnerability. You could gain root access by no password at all. So just by loading a dynamic library in a terminal, you could gain root access by not knowing the user's password. So what I did, I wrote malware in Swift for Mac. It basically installed a keylogger to the person's computer. It copied itself to launch to run after the computer is launched. And that was it. And what I did with the USB drive, I named it USB Kath, so like women's name, Catherine. I downloaded some random pictures on the internet of some girl enjoying herself on the party. And my application was named My Video with a QuickTime Player icon. And that application was actually the malware I wrote. So my colleagues were so nice that they found a dropstick on the street, literally on the street. I just was watching from behind if accidentally someone else, not some person from my company, would pick this up. So my colleagues went and, oh, someone lost a USB drive. I have to find whose could it be. So they just picked it up, entered into their computer, and launched the video because they wanted to help the person that lost it to return it. The other one I did is I bought the device I mentioned, Rubber Ducky. It's an awesome device. I didn't know that's possible, but it's actually a USB drive that's not USB drive. It's emulating a keyboard. So as you know, the keyboard is a plug-and-play device. You don't have to install any drivers. You just plug it in and you type. And this microcontroller does that. You tell it what to write. And the user plugs it in, and it acts as an actual keyboard. It's like super fast keyboard. But just by plugging it in, you can launch like command or on Windows R, CMD, enter, you are in command line, and you can do all nice kinds of things. So those are the two vector attacks attack vectors I used for the USB drive.
How do you make sure that what you do is fully legal, even the white hat techniques that you use?
Yeah, I try to warn the users before the attacks. But it's something like a month ago or 2 months ago, so you don't even have to be aware that you should be aware that it's coming. You just know from where. And I believe it's also part of our contract with people to do these kinds of things. It's not explicitly stating that, but as a lawyer you can interpret it this way. So I hope I'm fine.
How come your colleagues were not using second-factor login? Should that prevent phishing attacks?
The funny thing is about two-factor authentication, for me, it doesn't solve anything. Because what I did with Gmail, I faked the two-factor authentication. So what the user does is they enter their password, then they go, for example, if they use SMS, they go to that SMS and they retype that secure code to me, to my site. So I automated it, and I was even able to go through the two-factor authentication because the user was aware and he wanted to log in. Yeah, so they even accepted the login if they use Google app to do that. They just accepted, yeah, I want to log in. So that's for the two-factor authentication. But it's definitely one thing that sets the user off, so that's something we enforce because it's more secure. I'm just saying that it's not 100% solution to that.
Have you ever been hacked?
I don't know. Obviously, when I enter my email to haveibeenpawned.com, I have like 12 different services that leaked my personal data. And honestly, I don't know.
Right, this is a continuation. Did your colleagues revenge?
I'm surprised they did not. Yeah, they did not.
And did you try to attack through Slack?
It's on my to-do list.
Nice. So that was Lukáš.
Thank you.